Guys, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time out to watch the video that Andy and myself are putting together for the rules meeting this year. Obviously, some different times that we're going through, and it's kind of hard to get 100 people in a room right now. So figured we do this, make it a little bit easier on everybody. We'll start by saying that the uniforms actually are ordered and or sitting upstairs in my front room right now. So we plan on getting all of them packaged this weekend, and we'll send some information out this weekend about when and where to pick up the uniforms at. We appreciate everybody's time and the efforts that you guys have given and will continue to give throughout this season, not just for us, but for the kids and the things that it's going to bring the enjoyment back into some normalcy for the kids. We appreciate everything. Go ahead and go through our slides real quick. And I just want to, as we start out and go through this, really emphasize that what the league is for. We started it, myself and Don met with some people, with Matt Rosati, and and obviously talked to Andy and got this on the start here. And we really, when we started it, looking at everything, we wanted to do it the right way, and we wanted to make sure that it was always about the kids and everything was about the kids. So we're going to continue to do that. We wanted to make sure that flag was an option. Obviously, I'm a high school tackle football coach, and we believe that making kids involved in the game, it's going to help the game be better throughout. So we want to make sure there's many kids that are involved in football, the better the numbers are going to be at the high school level, as well as the middle school levels and all the way down. So we want to make sure kids are involved. We want to make sure that they're having fun while they're playing, and make sure that it's enjoyable for them, not only for them but the parents. So we want to make sure that the kids are having fun and that they're learning the game, and we appreciate all the volunteers out there that are putting forth the effort to make sure that this occurs. This year, the season, right now, we're scheduled to be playing on the field up at Menor. Field 1 starts at the scoreboard, 2, 3, and 4, all the way down opposite at the scoreboard. So as we go through this, we'll be playing there. I believe week 1, there's a scheduling conflict on Saturday. So there'll be some games on Friday night and on Sunday that'll be split. Some will be at the soccer stadium and some will be over at Menor High School at the JTO. As we go through this, making sure our focus is on the kids, only 4 players. That includes if somebody's out there taking pictures out there. Only 4 coaches are out on the field. We really want to focus in on that. We don't want, too many people out there, obviously for the reasons, for one, insurance reasons on our part, and then to keep people down, the number of kids out there on the fields. We want to make sure there's only 4 coaches on the field, including a media person. So make sure you understand that. Entering and exit through the middle gates. However, this year we're going to talk and make sure that we may open up the side gates. With that being said, nobody is allowed on the track or inside of the stadium area when we're at the JTO, except for the coaches and players. So please make sure, even if the gates are open, which we may do just for exiting and entrance purposes, we may open up all gates, and we just want only coaches and players on that field for, again, insurance purposes, Menor schools purposes. And also keeps the number of people down out there. We can't have parents out there, and that it'd be too much. So we want to make sure we do that. If there's any issues, we want to make sure we focus in on the players playing, the coaches coach, and the officials officiate. So if there's issues that come up, please make sure coaches that, we don't want anything to come out and be, yelling at an official. Talk to an official. I've coached varsity football for 20 some years now, and I have not yelled at an official. I'm not allowed to on the sidelines. As an assistant coach, I'm not even allowed to talk to the officials on the sidelines. So that's the head coach's job. And the head coach, you might see, some people yelling or something, but you know what? That's their thing. We're not going to tolerate it at our level, with the youth level. Don't yell at them. Talk to them. Ask them questions about it. If you don't like what you hear, talk to Andy. It has to talk to Don, when they'll get it taken care of for you. Don, myself, my wife, Andy, we're always at the games. So we want to make sure that, if there's any questions that need to be answered, we'll help answer those questions for you. And we want to make sure that, again, as we go through this process of this season, we want to make sure that the kids are, focused in on learning the game and doing the things the right way. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Andy Gruber. He's going to go through all the rules for you.
Hi, well, welcome to the season this year. I'm Andy Gruber. I've been doing this for about probably almost 40 years now, ref and flag. I did high school for about 20 years. My biggest game I probably ever did was Glenville at Menor at the stadium. That was a lot of fun. I got to go into officials' locker rooms there, and it was great. It was, like I said, it was my most fun game I ever had in my life. And the kind of refs that I pick up are the ones that like to do this for fun. If one of them says they only want to make it, make a little extra money on the side, you won't see them on the sidelines. And all the refs that I recruit, they're here, to have fun and like doing it. If they don't like doing it, I get rid of them right away. Right now, just to give you some information on our ref people that'll be reffing your games, 21 have done flag national championship games. And I know, I think Lloyd, most of you guys have been here before, know Lloyd. He's done over 30 national championship games for the flag. And 85% of us are high school certified. So there's, and I think almost all of them that aren't doing it are planning to become high school refs. Depending how they do here, we got 4 trainees this year, and they're all very eager to get started. So if you see anybody making any mistakes or anything, it's just like when you're coaching. Sometimes you make mistakes. I always tell the refs you have to be perfect the first day and get better after that. So they know what they're in for. A couple of things I want to talk about, like what is the coach's number one job while they coach? And it's just the same for the referees, and it's one a lot of people always get that wrong when I have the meetings. The number one job is to keep the players safe. And that's our job. That's our number one job. If anything else, you blow a call and stuff, that don't matter as much as keeping the players safe. So that's our number one job. That's your number one job. One of the things that a lot of people just blow off is just concussion training. Okay, you have to be certified once every 3 years. If you don't have that, and say somebody gets a concussion and signs and sues the league, then they go checking all our records and they find out that you're not certified, you can be fined. Okay, and so you don't want to be paying any fine. It's like probably not even a half-hour video, less than that. You have a couple questions in it, and that's about it. And you need to take that. Plus, it's helps know more about concussions. So make sure you take that. You don't want to, like I said, you don't want to get in trouble not having it, especially if the concussion happens on your team. Okay, next one, the most important thing too, it was when you're practicing. There's a lightning and thunder rule. That's lightning and thunder for the state of Ohio. That includes practices, okay? Most of the times when we go to our referee meetings and people got hit by lightning, it was at practice, not at the game. All these coaches have been out there forever and they say, oh, I finally got all 10 of my guys here. And all of a sudden I hear some thunder, and that's the ones that end up getting hit by lightning. And it doesn't even have to hit the players. It hits the ground and injures a bunch of people. So do not take that lightly. If you hear lightning or thunder, it's probably best just to call your practice, or you got to wait a half hour to get going again. And don't cut it short because, like I said, that's serious stuff. And it happens every year. There's always like 6 or 7 people get hit by lightning at practice, and it's mostly at practice, not at the games. Because you have the game officials there, and we close down everything when you're at the game. There's nobody there to stop you practice most of the time. Okay, just a couple things I want to go over real quick. Is first, we don't have a big must. You must play for one thing. Some people think that only takes a couple minutes. You try to play the people as equally as possible, not just like 2 minutes in the game. So, you should either be on offense or defense. And sometimes they say, well, that's not fair. He's got 7 guys. I got 10. He can play his 3 best guys both ways. Well, that's just the way it is. The same in baseball. If you show up with 12 guys and the other team's got 9, they might have an advantage. They might not, but you got to get these players in the games. And that includes our tournament at the end of the year. I seen, this was before I got here. It was at another league. This one guy brings his whole family there. He had his parents and his wife's parents, and everybody came to the game to see the championship game. And their son played 2 plays in the whole thing. And their team won the championship. Everybody's jumping up and down. They weren't. So they had everybody out here, and he barely got in the game. Okay, you always have that couple spots that, you get them in the game, the wide receiver. You go out and do a pass, do something like that. Okay, I'm going to try to keep it under 4 hours this time. I'm going to go over all the rules real quick. Okay, first of all, it's played with 5 players. I think everybody knows that. You must have 3 to play. We never had a problem with that yet. We've never had a forfeit. I think one time the team had 3 guys, and that team ended up winning. So, like I said, we don't have that problem, but you are supposed to have 5 players. Okay, for uniforms, okay, the dark jerseys are for when you're a home team. Light jerseys are when you're the visitors. So when you get your schedule and you see that, make sure you come dressed in the right stuff, because all of a sudden everybody's got to take their shirts off and flags off. And if you get down to the kindergartens and little first and second graders, a lot of times that's a big problem. Sometimes getting them all redressed. Okay, for right now, it's it's going to be cold. Hoodies. That's those things that come over the top of your head. They can wear them, but they either have to wear them or tuck them in the back of their shirt. So they can't have them hanging back where somebody can grab them. So hoodies on your head or tucked in. Okay, everybody knows there's no metal cleats allowed, especially on that nice turf we have. If it's raining or anything, the officials dry off the ball, or we'll give you towels to dry them off, because right now with the COVID stuff going on, we want you to keep your own ball. So you take it back to your huddle, and we mark the spot, the line of scrimmage, with a puck. So take the ball back to the huddle, and one of the coaches could have a towel there and wipe it off while he's calling the play.
Andy, real quick, you guys are going to have same thing as in the fall for you that played. You're going to have your own footballs. We have footballs, the ones that we get, the NFL flag ones. So if you want to use those, or you can bring your own footballs, please make sure that they're inflated to the right pressure. Otherwise, the officials will throw them out of the game. Okay, so please make sure we're doing that.
Yeah, so if you can't have the official, if you're not sure if you have enough air in it or not, have the official check it before the game, because if they find it during the game, then you won't be allowed to use it and delay the game and everything else. Okay, the size of the ball. Kindergarten, first and second, third and fourth uses the peewee size ball. Fifth and sixth, seventh and eighth, and the ninth and 12-year-old girls, they have to use the junior size ball. Okay, coaches on offense and defense. At the last page, I'll show you how many coaches are allowed on the field. But what you have to be, except for kindergarten and first and second grade, you have to be off the field when the ball's snapped. Okay, so you got to be heading towards the sidelines. On kindergarten and first and second, the offensive coaches can stay out there, but they got to get out of the way if the ball gets picked off or anything like that, or the running back decides to turn and run around behind him. You have to be out of the way, and you cannot be yelling if you're especially first and second grade. Throw the ball to Bill. Throw the ball to Bill. You're not out there to coach. Once the snap, they have to run the play on their own. Okay, so don't be out there doing that. Possessions, we don't have a coin toss right now because of COVID. Visiting team gets the ball. The home team gets to choose which direction they want to go to start the game. I think everybody knows it's 4 downs to get a first down and then 4 more to get a touchdown. Field setup, ours is 67 yards long. It's 53 yards in the middle and 7-yard end zones, and it's 25 yards wide. You choose the opposite sides of the field all the time. Okay, and if you're a fan there, you got to be in the stadium. You have to be in the stands. If you're at the soccer field, you cannot go on the turf at all. Okay, so if you bring your lawn chairs or whatever, you sit them. You have to be off the turf. Nobody's allowed on the turf for player safety. Almost all the possessions start at the 5-yard line except for an interception. So after 4 downs, the ball goes over to the other team. They get it at the 5 unless they picked it off ahead of that. Okay, there's no intentional contact of any type is permitted, so there's no blocking anywhere on the field at any time. So you got to watch too. When say you throw a long pass or there's a long run, a lot of times the players start running along with the running back or whoever has the ball. That's a penalty. It's called blocking, because if you get in the way of any defenders trying to get there. So the best thing to do is if somebody catches a pass or runs past the line of scrimmage is stop. Okay, don't leave it up to the ref to say there was a block or there wasn't a block or whatever. You're not allowed to run alongside the ball carrier when he's going down the field. Okay, mouthpieces, especially the first week, probably most of the season for kindergarten and first and second, is check the mouthpieces before the game. Because if you don't have one, then you got to run over and try to go to either have one with you or get one at the concession stand. So make sure you always have an extra mouth guard is probably a good idea. To start the ball, each play has to go between the center's legs. Shotgun snaps are allowed. Kindergarten Kindergarten and first and second graders are allowed to snap the ball sideways. Okay, in kindergarten, we just about accept anything that they, as long as they get the ball back to the quarterback, we're happy with that. So they don't usually call any penalties for picking the ball up and spinning around and then handing it back to the quarterback. Kindergarten, that's all instructional there. Okay, there's a 30-second huddle clock. Starts on the ready whistle. So as soon as the referees are both in position, they blow a ready whistle. Then you got 30 seconds to call play. If you have a delay, usually almost all the time, the officials will tell you got 10 seconds. You got 15 seconds to get the play off. Okay, so that's to warn you. If you do get a delay a game, you get one delay a game without a penalty, and the second one is a penalty. It's 5 yards. So, but the first one you get a warning. Okay. In motion, one player is allowed a motion at a time. He has to be parallel or backwards behind the line of scrimmage. You can't be going forward like you see in the Canadian Football League or anything like that. There's no laterals of any kind anywhere on the field. We've been talking about sometimes adding that to it, but I saw some people playing in Texas with it, and the refs that came back from there say there's a lot of collisions and stuff on it because everybody crowds the line then when they're having a lot of pitches, and there's a whole lot of people running in each other and getting hurt. So that's, I guess, why they don't allow it. Most of the country doesn't allow it. I think Texas is the only one that allows it. Spinning is permitted, and you cannot jump and spin, okay, to avoid getting flag pulled. You can jump or dive to advance the ball is illegal as well. You can jump over a player just like in high school if the defensive player is on the ground to avoid a collision. But in jumping and diving to catch a pass is permitted. You just can't dive to score a touchdown. You know, you get by the goal line, you see all these plays on TV where they dive in. You can't do that. Okay, that's a penalty. Passing game. Now, this is one thing we want to go real quick. I see this all the time. Quarterback has 7 seconds to pass the ball. Okay, if he doesn't pass it in 7 seconds, he plays blown dead, and the ball goes back to the line of scrimmage. A whole bunch of times I see it when they get to 6. Quarterback throws the ball out of bounds, intentionally grounds it. That's a penalty. Okay, the ball's going back to the line of scrimmage anyway. So as soon as the 7-second whistle blows, so there's no advantage of throwing the ball out of bounds. Okay. Receiving game, people are eligible to catch a pass, even the center. And if the quarterback hands off, he's eligible for a pass as well. You have to have 1 foot in bounds, just like in high school. A receiver's down where the ball is when the flag's pulled. You go to a lot of other tournaments, they go where your feet are, which don't make sense to me, but we go by where the ball is. If a flag inadvertently falls off, you're down at the point of discovery. So if the ref's seen the flag come off at a 15-yard line and he runs it in the end zone, you're down at the 15. Okay. Okay, if the receiver and defender both catch the ball at the same time, it's called a simultaneous catch. It's the same as high school, college, pros. The tie would go to the receiver. A receiver cannot run out of bounds and come back in bounds to catch the ball. That's when you see the referee will throw his hat. That means that's an ineligible receiver there. And most of the time that happens with the little kids in the back of the end zone. So what doesn't usually happen on the sidelines, they go running around the end zone, they see a defender there, they run out of bounds behind them and they come back in. That is a penalty, okay? So you can't come back, you can't be the first one to touch the ball. So if say it bounced off of somebody else's hands and you catch it, then that's good, but it's not, if it goes directly to you, that's an illegal touch, okay? Okay, only direct handoffs are allowed in the backfield. And what you have to do, so what a lot of times when there's fakes, and then you say, oh, the quarterback will, put the ball in a running back's gut and then take it out and start running. He has to completely let go of the ball to consider it a legal handoff. So the running back has to have it in his hands, and then the quarterback can take it back from him. But if he doesn't completely let go, it's an illegal handoff. Okay. There's no limit to the number of handoffs you have. A lot of teams, especially little kids, like double reverses, and sometimes that works. Sometimes they mess it up and get worse. But you can hand it off 5 double. You can have quadruple reverse if you want. Okay. The quarterback can never run the ball. Okay. The only chance that you can have your quarterback run the ball is if you have him line up as a running back, and they snap the ball to the running back, and he hands off to the quarterback. Now he can run or pass then. Now what happens too is the defense, as soon as he hands off, can rush. So that's the disadvantage of that. But the advantage is if the team's not rushing when you hand off the ball, then they're probably not going to rush when you do that. So you might get a good play or two out of that before they catch on. But that's the quarterback can never run without the handoff. Okay, getting the handoff. The player, okay, that's good. Is the responsibility of the ball carrier to avoid the defenders when he's running down the field. So if you see a guy standing there and a running back runs him over, that gets charged as a foul to the offense. Okay. Now, if he gets tackled, that's the defense. The most tackling penalties we have, we call it in the kindergarten. Okay, every time somebody goes down on the ground, especially if they're crying, there's a flag on the ground. Okay. You have all the moms who didn't really want their kid to play and wasn't real sure about this. They see their kid get tackled, and they said, "Oh, that's nothing happens when you do that." So we made it just about every time in kindergarten. If the kid goes down, that's tackling, and it's 5 yards, automatic first down, unless they, like I said, got tangled up and both fell down together, something like that. But any kind, it looks like it's any kind of tackling, and they get tangled up, it's a penalty for kindergartens. But tackling's probably it's usually people that play tackle and then they end up going for the flags and they go too hard or whatever. But we don't tolerate that. And a lot of times you can get personal foul or unsportsmanlike if you do that. So there's no tackling. Trying to skip through some of this stuff here. Okay. Okay. The defensive player can't pass the line of scrimmage until the ball is handed off. Okay, for a run. Now, if you're back and you're rushing for the older kids from 7 yards back, you can rush as soon as the ball is snapped. Now, if you rush before the ball is snapped, like you think he's trying to get a jump on it, and you take a step, you're no longer able to rush the passer. Okay, so if he does rush the passer, it's a penalty. But you might get lucky on that. If you're rushing the passer and you step and then you rush anyway, if they hand off the ball, there's no penalty on that. Okay, so I see that happen quite a bit. They say, "Oh, that guy took a step." You know, once you hand off the ball, there's no pass, so anybody could rush. So that's not a penalty. But if he rushes, and after he takes a step too early, it's like offsides. There is a penalty for that. Okay, the other thing is rushers. Okay, we have, and I'll show anybody if they want to come in when they're at the field or anything if you want. Rushers have to be 5 yards to the right or left of the center to have the right of way, okay? So if the rusher is coming from that side and going after the quarterback, the center has to be out of his way, the wide receivers have to be out of the way, okay? You can't get in his way when he's rushing like that. If he lines up head on you, then he has to avoid the center, okay? Now, I don't see this too much happening in our league until I get a little older, but there's some coaches that like I said, if you go to tournaments, they'll have the guy go out and purposely do a pass route right in front of the rusher, or they'll have the rusher run into one of the wide receivers saying he's blocking them or whatever. But the rule is the right of way goes to the rusher if he's 5 yards off to either side, and to the receiver if he's head on. It's just sort of like basketball on that one, but that's a tough call. And I hate to see teams do that, and usually it's the same ones over and over again. Okay, so okay, flag guarding, that's an attempt by the ball carrier to obstruct the defender's access to the flag. And I can do that a whole bunch of different ways. You can do it by a stiff arm. You can drop your head and lower your head when you're running. You can't do that. You can do it, try to slap it away with your hand, or shoulder, lowering your shoulder. You can also have the flags are covered. The refs try to check you out when you come out to see if everybody's got their shirts tucked in. We don't have it too bad since we got those pants, shorts and stuff, but make sure your shirts are tucked in, because if they go over the flags, you could get called for flag guarding on that. Defenders have to pull the flags. They can't strip the ball or pull it from ball carrier's possession. That's a penalty. So like I said, you have to go for the flags, can't go for the ball. You can't pull the flags off the player before he catches the ball. That's a penalty too. So they just tack that on to the end of the play. Like I say, if the receiver gets his flags pulled and then he catches it, they just tack it on to the end of the play, but that's a penalty too. Shirts and jerseys, like I said before, they always have to be tucked in or you can get a flag guarding penalty. Okay, interceptions, they're all returnable except if you go into overtime. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But you can't run an interception back during an overtime, just like high school. No run zones. They're only for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th and 12th grade girls. That's 5 yards before midfield, 5 yards before the goal line. That's to avoid collisions. At least they think it does. So when you hand off the ball, you can't run the ball from inside there. And what happens if you do run the ball right there, the refs always tell you, you're in the no run zone, okay? So you know ahead of time, that means you can't run the ball. And if you do, they just blow the play dead and it's a penalty. On the short yardage penalty, like say you get a penalty and you get pushed back behind midfield. This happens every now and then, and you're back at like your 48-yard line, we'll call it like that. Then you don't have to run for that no run zone because your line to gain is the goal line. Okay. Okay, rushing the quarterback, that's limited to the 5, 6, 7th, 8th, and 9th through 12-year-old girls. Other age groups, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, don't rush the quarterbacks. The purpose of that is to give the quarterback time to learn how to throw the ball and look for receivers instead of watching him get rushed by 3 defenders all the time. So that's worked out pretty good. Matter of fact, I think we started that role when Trubinsky was little. So it worked out pretty good for him so far. The rusher is always going to be rushed in for the older kids, 7 yards back. They'll line up with the referee. The referee will be right there, and you check in with him. If you don't check in with him and you're not 7 yards back and he rushes, that's a penalty. So check in all the time. Okay, inadvertent whistle, this never happens, but if you did, the offense has a choice of either taking the result of the play where the whistle was blown or replaying the down. The other thing, if it's a pass, when the whistle blows, that's dead ball. The play just goes over. And I hate when that happens because it's always a big play. It never's when it scores 20-0. Okay, see, scoring, touchdown, 6 points, extra points. You can go for 1, 2, or 3. 1 is from the 5-yard line. 2 is from the 10, and 3 is from the 20. So you can't go for 3 points if you want to. A lot of times, if you're down like 18-0, you can get back in the game by getting 2 scores and 2 threes. So that's probably most of the time when people do it, especially kindergarten. I don't know why they don't do it all the time because they're going to score from the 5, they're going to score from the 20 too. Okay, if you get a safety, same thing, you get the ball at the 2, and the ball goes down all the way to the other team's 5-yard line when they take over the ball. Okay. Some timing. The referee stops their clock at their own discretion, like somebody gets hurt, they're laying in the ground crying or something, like a kindergarten kid gets tackled or something and he's not hurt real bad, but we can stop the clock for injuries. That don't happen too often, I'm glad to say. Each team is allowed 2 timeouts, 30 seconds each. They don't carry over to the second half, so you can't use your 2 timeouts from the first half and make it 4 in the second half. The games are 2 20-minute halves with a 2-minute halftime. That's a running clock, okay? So it runs all the way down to 1 minute, and then the clock stops and gives you the 1 minute warning, and it's regulation time from that time in, except for kindergarten. It's 20-minute rule. It runs right, this is instructional only. And I'll tell you, when we first started kindergarten, the biggest problem we had was in the kindergartens. They'd go running out on the field, timeout, timeout. And the last minute of the game sometimes could last almost 20 minutes. So we cut that out. So there's no timeouts in kindergarten, 20-minute straight clock. Usually when the clock expires, they'll finish the play that you're lined up for. Okay, get to the mercy rule. Okay, you have, here's what happens. When you get ahead by 19 points, 21 points, the defense is no longer allowed to rush the quarterback. I made this rule myself about a year and a half ago because what happens, I saw this game, it was 28-0, probably 10 minutes in because the quarterback threw 3 pick sixes in a matter of a couple seconds. The guy was still rushing 3 guys when he was up 28-0, I went over and talked to him. I said, that's being a terrible sport and stuff like that. So they had 3 pick sixes in the first half, and all it did was the 30-point differential came up, and all they got to really do was a scrimmage the rest of the game. So I don't see no point in it. But when you get to 21, you can't rush the passer, and the refs will let you know when that happens. If you get down to 1 minute and the score's up by 19, you're down by 19 points, that's the ball game. If you get to 30 points differential, here's what happens. This is a new rule. We used it last spring, and I really liked it a lot. The team that's behind gets the ball at midfield with four plays to score. If they don't, we let you play and get the ball again. And if you score, they get the ball at midfield and try to score again. And if they don't score, then you just start the scrimmage. But that gives you like 2 chances to score from midfield instead. And I think twice the team that was down by 30, which we hope doesn't happen a lot, is scored. So that worked out pretty good. If you ever watch high school and try to figure this out, 30 points, you say, oh, we got clobbered by 30. 1 out of every 3 high school games has the 30-point rule in effect. So the team gets behind 30 points if it's not the final score. Sometimes in the game, it was 30. They were losing by 30. So that happens quite a bit in high school. So don't feel bad if your team gets down by 30. What I have done in the past, if we have like a 3-0 playing an 0-3 team or a 4-0 playing an 0-4 team, we will change the schedule at the end. So it's fun for everybody. We might match up the team that's 4-0 with another 4-0 team and the team that's 0-4 with another 0-4 team. 2 years ago, we only had 1 team didn't win a game, and last season, I think there was only 2 teams that didn't win a game all season. So we'll try to match you up, so don't get discouraged if you lose your first 3 games. We'll work with you at the end and try to get you at least in some games. So I sent out rating systems last couple of days. Right now, I got about 80% returned. Hopefully, you rated yourself realistic. If you put down that you're a rookie and you have a really good team, what's going to happen is you're going to go undefeated probably, and then you'll play in the Division I playoff instead of where you probably belong. So be honest with the rating as best you can. Next, overtime. Here's what we're going to do. Right now, we'll let you know. We have 2 ways to do the overtimes. If we have enough time and get all the games in, what we do is we have each team gets the ball once and they can go for 1, 2, and 3. And then the other team gets the ball and he can go for 1, 2, and 3. And if it's still a tie, it's a tie. What we did, if all of a sudden we find out we can't get the field for as long as we'd hoped, we have this play where you have a flip of the coin, and they call it, and you can take the ball or defense, whoever wins the toss. It's 1 play from the 7. If you score, you win. If you don't, you lose. So we've only had that happen twice in all the whole last season last year when we did that. So, but it happens every now and then, and nobody wants to go home with a tie anyway. Next, protest rule. Trying to get this over real quick. Protest. If you have a protest, you call timeout, or you want a rule interpretation, you call timeout. Because here's what happens. The referees, these guys ref in tournaments, they go everywhere, and sometimes the rules get mixed up. They think the 4th grade rule for this is that. And so you call timeout. If you think a rule is in violation, is been interpreted the wrong way. I walk around in a circle. I do an average of 20,000 steps every week, just going around in circles. I have a red shirt on. This is the one right here with my name on it. So you call me, we come over, and we get the rule interpreted real quick and get the game back on its way. A lot of times what happens with these is the ref saw the play one way and you saw it another different way. That's a lot of times what it comes down to. But if you have any questions, don't argue. Just call timeout. I want to talk to Andy and or whoever else is there, and we'll come over and talk to you right on the spot within a couple minutes at the worst. Okay. Head coaches are the only ones to talk to the referee at all. Okay. Nobody else talks to the ref, just like high school, just like the pros, just like college, and probably most Pee Wee programs too. Warning: the ref might give you a warning on some plays. Okay, instead of calling a flag, or definitely if he calls it unsportsmanlike on you on the sidelines, you get the second one, you're kicked out, and probably for the season. So if you get the first one unsportsmanlike, it's time to just cool it for the day. Next one, I'm not going to go over all these. I made a much better sheet for penalties. You look on it, it talks about defensive spot fouls, offensive spot fouls, and how they're assessed, what they are. So that's all, like I said, all you got to do is read it. But so like I said, now you can read everything on there. So before you just guessed, a lot of the penalties weren't all listed. There are no fumbles. The ball becomes a dead ball when you fumble it. So if the guy's running down the field, the ball comes loose and flies into the other guy's hands. He's down where the ball left his hands. Okay. The only time you could get a ricochet like that is on a pass. So once the guy has possession of the ball, he can't fumble. The ball's down where he loses it. Okay, center sneak's not allowed. I see all these teams all the time try to snap the ball to the quarterback and then hand the ball right in his gut. That's illegal. The center has to come around behind the quarterback to get a handoff like that, okay? Because it's crazy. Or they'll try to center sneak it and hand it right back to the quarterback. You can't do that. Okay, we went over repeating. Sportsmanship. No trash talking is ever allowed. We've only had three coaches we ever been thrown out of a game since I started with this league, and one of them, the guy got thrown out on the second play, arguing from the first play by probably the best official I know, and he does our games sometimes. Ron Bate, done like 5 Division I championship games already for high school, and that's unheard of. And he gives talks about not throwing out of handle coaches, and so he threw one of them out. So he probably deserved it. So like I said, once you get that first warning, it's time to shut up. Everybody be quiet on the bench, everywhere. Keep everybody under control if you're the coach, because the second one you can get tossed and it could end up being out the rest of the year. Like I said, our league has always had a nice atmosphere for the players and friends and family, and I can't say that about some of the other leagues I've been in. This was probably the best so far on that, but we still have a zero tolerance. Like I said, if you have a problem, I'm within probably 100 yards of you at all time. Now, if you look at the bottom of the last page of the rules, it has a cheat sheet on there. So it tells you if you're like in kindergarten, no run zone, there's 5 yards, you don't have it. You use a peewee ball, can't rush the quarterback. You don't have to snap between your legs, 2 coaches on the field and 2 on defense, on offense, 2 on defense. Goes through all that. I cut this out and give it to the refs every single week, okay? So they have a cheat sheet there because they're bouncing around sometimes different age groups. And like I said, these are good cheat sheets. I also am doing the schedule, so like I said, get those sheets back in if games requests. I'm going to do the first week right away, and because we had to change that from Saturday. And a lot of people made plans on Saturday, or one guy even taking his vacation on Sunday. So he started it on Sunday because he thought he was playing on Saturday. So we switched him to a Friday game. So I'm going to get those done real quick and get those out first week, and then about probably in 10 days we'll have the whole season. But please answer those as quick as you can. And call me anytime for rules interpretation. You have my numbers on all those emails I've been sending out. And like I said, anytime, night and day, call me. I'm glad to talk football. And I am going to have a referees class with just a few people. If anybody's interested in coming to that because you want to go over the rules more, feel free to call me and I'll get you in that class too. Okay, Bob.
I appreciate it, Andy. Thank you, guys, for your time. Obviously this spring, with everything, we're still going to have to abide by everything that's going on with the masks being worn all the way up till when the kids are actually playing in the games. We will have hand sanitizer on the fields like we did in the fall, for those of you guys that played with us in the fall. And we'll have the signs about social distancing all around the stadium as well. So we just want to make sure everybody stays safe. And we're looking forward to having a great spring season. I know this is one of our biggest seasons. We have actually 104 total teams, including the girls teams. That's our first inaugural season with the girls. So we're 104 teams. We have over 1,000 kids playing, and we can't say enough about everybody volunteering their time and doing everything necessary to make this a success for the kids and make it a great experience for the kids. So if you have any questions, the rules are posted online. I will send out, we'll send those out to the coaches as well. But if you have any questions, like Andy said, feel free to give him a call or give him a quick email. And I know he gets back to everybody as soon as he can. So appreciate everybody. And we look forward to seeing you guys in about 3 or 4 weeks out on the fields. Thank you.